These tapes, I want you to understand, are not he said, she said. You can actually use your noodle and discover who is telling the truth here. Obama has been caught telling the fiction of his life from the beginning. But Reverend Wright hasn't. I disagree with Reverend Wright. His version of the truth, I think, is nuts, horribly misguided in the very least. But one thing you can say about Reverend Wright is he does not ever hide who he is or what he believes. He says what he means and means what he says. In the first clip you're going to hear tonight, he's talking about evidence that he has that Obama was trying to figure out how he could distance himself from Jeremiah Wright without actually leaving the church. Listen.
You literally have a box?
Yeah, it's a cardboard box.
A cardboard?
About the size of that cabinet, yeah.
And you have in there, what do you have in there?
I have several things. I have, well, for instance, I read an article like this. I read an article where Obama, Axelrod, was quoted as being in conversation with Pastor Moss about the Obama staying at the church, how to pull that off by distancing the church from me.
When was this?
Oh, May, before he officially left the church. So that'd be April, May 2008. I've got the letter, his original letter that he sent to Otis first for his, what do you think? When he was leaving the church. While I was still the pastor, he's writing a letter to Otis. I got that.
I have to tell you, today on my radio program, I offered Jeremiah Wright $150,000 of my own money to find out what's inside of that cardboard box. I would imagine it would confirm a whole lot of suspicions that we've had about this president. We all know deep down inside there's something wrong with the faith of Barack Obama. I'm not saying that he's a Muslim. You don't even have to go there. I don't think that he's anything, quite honestly. I think he joined that church for political reasons. You don't ditch the guy who led you to Christ because the media doesn't like him. What kind of Christian is that? I mean, you want to talk about, no, I don't know him. What? Denying him 3 times. Woo. And then the flip-flop on gay marriage. Conveniently, when polling on gay marriage crossed the 50% approval mark, he says first, I'm not for it because of my Christian belief. Then, when it crosses the 50% mark, he says, because of my Christian belief, I'm for it. What is his faith, even? What is it? It sounds meaningless. The guy mocked the Old Testament and said the Bible endorsed slavery. In that context, this comment from Wright about President Obama and his wife makes sense.
She grew up in a Hyde Park kind of Jack and Jill links, middle income, who think they're middle class environment. She ain't no church affiliation.
Father was a priest in Catholic.
And when she came to the church, both of them came to the church. Their kids weren't raised in the church like you raise other kids in Sunday school and this, you know. No, because that church is not their thing. It never was their thing. Well, we know it wasn't his, but she was not the kind of black woman whose mama made her go to church, made her go to Sunday school, made her go to BYPU, if the Baptist, or Richard Arlington Methodist. She wasn't raised in that kind of environment, so the church was not an integral part of their lives before they got married, after they got married.
But the church was an integral part of his politics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he needed that base.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So he's saying really that his faith didn't mean anything. Well, you're going to have to decide on your own, because President Obama has spoken about his faith at great length. He started his presidential campaign with the line, giving all praise and honor to God. He has said that phrase repeatedly.
Giving all praise and honor to God for bringing us together here today.
And I begin by giving all praise and honor to God.
Okay. The Audacity of Hope is one of Reverend Wright's sermons. But now we hear that he didn't care about going to church at all? Okay, now wait a minute, hang on. Which one is it? Are you a man of faith that actually listen and apply it, or not? Will anyone in the media, besides the internet and, GBTV and Sean Hannity, actually put these things together and ask the question? Here's another one. Wright explains how he found out that it wasn't just Republicans who were attacking him. Oh no.
I was in Los Angeles, and there was a pastors' meeting, interdenominational pastors' meeting, and they asked me to speak. After the questions and answers and all that, one of the pastors came up to me. He said, "This has nothing to do with the election. I just want you to know this. Please don't think it was just Republicans after you." I said, "What?" He said, "I was offered money by the Hillary Clinton campaign to tear you down."
Really?
He said, "But I knew you, so I didn't take the job, but I can tell you the guy here in Los Angeles who took it, she paid black preachers to attack you."
Wow, can you smell the sulfur here? You want to talk about being evil, bribing a minister. I'm not sure who's worse here, the Clinton campaign for making the offer or the pastors who took the cash. Even the white hat in this story admits he just didn't take it because he knew Reverend Wright. How about the fact that you didn't take it because you knew the difference between right and wrong? You may have noticed Obama's angry rhetoric at big banks and corporations. It's often in direct opposition of his policies that give his so-called villains breaks. You can't understand it? Well, Reverend Wright explains why.
Earlier this year, there was an all-day symposium on Barack Obama and the Black Agenda. And you can Google that and get it off YouTube. Minister Farrakhan was from what I watched on YouTube, sat there not saying anything. And so the moderator said to him, "Minister Farrakhan, don't you have anything to say?" And he said, "Yeah, I have a lot to say, but I'm listening, I'm learning." And they said, "No, I mean, what's your perspective?" He said, "I think our brother needs a lot of help. I think he thought he could make these changes, the change he hoped for, the change we hoped for could come about with his being elected. I think he can't do that by himself. He needs a lot of help." But what I'm most amazed about is that as I listen to the conversation today, nobody has mentioned this. We keep forgetting that Barack Obama was selected before he was elected. You didn't select him. He's accountable to the ones who selected him and who paid for him to be the president. And I said, why do you think Wall Street got a break? They selected him. Why do you think the big three got a buyout? General Motors, Ford, President. They selected him. Why do you think he stands up and says, "I am AIPAC. I am a Zionist"? You have the money to select him.
I'm sorry, but I think that's true. He's in their pocket. GM didn't win the bailout. Who won in the bailout? The unions did. Who won in healthcare reform? You didn't. The average person didn't. SEIU did. One last clip, and this one is more stunning and more revealing audio clip that I think you'll ever hear. Wright tells how Obama was different right after the election.
Was he confident about being elected?
At that point, yes, and he saw me as yes. He was confident, he was very hopeful, but he saw me as a deterrent, which is why he didn't want me to say anything.
How did you two leave each other that day in your living room?
He said, "I'm sorry you don't see it that way." I said, "Oh, the most profound thing he said to me that day, he said, you know what your problem is?" I said, "What's my problem?" "You have to tell the truth." I said, "That's a good problem to have." Which is my point again. Politicians don't have to tell the truth. Truth is what we say it is. Well, I can't live with that. That's why I can never be a politician. But I think that the transformed Barack has become a politician.
And when do you think that happened?
Once he got in office.
Presidency or Senate?
Presidency.
Presidency.
It's pretty profound. Obama says, the problem is, you, Jeremiah, Wright, have to tell the truth. That's the problem? Who says that? We've been finding out over the last couple of weeks, Obama's whole life is a work of fiction. We've had all of this and we've pieced it together over the years, beginning at CNN and then over at Fox. But it's really starting to become crystal clear. I really believe it's what Bill Clinton meant when he said this.
Well, how could you say that when you said in 2004 you didn't know how you would have voted on the resolution? You said in 2004 there was no difference between you and George Bush on the war, and you took that speech you're now running on off your website in 2004, and there's no difference in your voting record and Hillary's ever since. Give me a break. This whole thing is the biggest fairy tale I've ever seen.
There it is. More conflicting facts keep coming out about this fairy tale. Like this one this afternoon from Breitbart.com. This is Barack Obama's profile picture on a promotional booklet produced in 1991 by Barack Obama's then literary agency, which touts Obama as, quote, born in Kenya, raised in Indonesia and Hawaii. Now, I want to make this extraordinarily clear. I believe that Barack Obama is a citizen and was born in Hawaii, period. End of the story, at least for me. This revelation doesn't change that for me. It actually deepens my understanding of what's really going on. It fits into exactly what we've been talking about. His life is a fairy tale. He will say whatever he has to be able to make himself the star. Maybe somebody got it wrong, but I have to tell you, I work with literary agents. They don't get something that wrong. Maybe somebody made it up, maybe even him, just added that line, kind of like Elizabeth Warren did, to make him sound more exotic and international. But this story may end up being another big distraction because the birthers are going to come out in force, and more stories are going to get ignored.